In 2014, when Amit Shah was travelling across Uttar Pradesh in the run-up to the Lok Sabha polls, his path was reportedly blocked by the workers of the Samajwadi Party while he was travelling from Varanasi to Azamgarh. The police, the story goes, did not come to his rescue. It was instead the workers and activists of the Hindu Yuva Vahini, which was popularly known as the private army of the MP cum High Priest of the Gorakhnath Mutt, Yogi Adityanath, which rescued Shah. The to-be BJP president was mighty impressed. 10 years later, Yogi Adityanath, now the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh for 7 years, and Amit Shah, now the country's Home Minister, are speculated to be locked in a succession battle after Prime Minister Narendra Modi hangs up his boots. The speculated succession battle became the subject of political chatter once again when RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat recently visited Gorakhpur days after the BJP's underwhelming performance in the Lok Sabha elections. The spotlight was barely on the 4-day RSS volunteers camp in the city which Bhagwat was attending. The only question on everyone's mind was, did Bhagwat and Adityanath meet or not? The answer, people hoped, could carry clues to who the RSS would support in the impending succession battle. But how does the Sangh view Adityanath? Is he a firebrand Hindutva icon like no other for them? Is he a counterweight to the current dispensation? Or is he an outsider who has not been bred in the RSS ways? Over the last 7 years, Adityanath has emerged as the Hindutva poster boy par excellence, a role model of sorts for BJP chief ministers. He has pushed the boundaries of what is considered as executable Hindutva much beyond even the RSS's conception. The quote-unquote turnaround in UP's law and order under his watch is an enviable blueprint. As the head of the Gorakhnath Mutt, his influence goes way beyond politics. He is, after all, a self-proclaimed Karm Yogi, which provides a spiritual framework to his politics. As an RSS functionary put it to us, Yogi combines the strength of the Brahmin and the Kshatriya. He is a natural leader. Yet, when it comes to the question of him being Modi's successor, hushed apprehensions within the RSS remain. The same RSS functionary pointed this out to us, that he is a natural leader, yes, but he has grown outside the BJP. In that sense, he is not bound by the organization or its discipline. And that, he said, can be a problem. To quote him, he said he is like an adopted son of the Parivar who is an overachiever. The conflicting views expressed by the same person capture the RSS's dilemma about Adityanath perfectly. He is a mass, even populist leader who appeals directly to the people. But he has not gone through the institutional vetting process of the Sangh, making him a bit of an outsider in the family and also outside the scope of its control. To understand if Yogi Adityanath is actually an outsider in the Sangh Parivar, we need to go back in history. In the early 20th century, a host of Hindu nationalist organizations, including the RSS and the Hindu Mahasabha, were coming up across India. During the same time, the Nath Sampradaya or the Nath Panthis, a sect of Shaivite ascetics believed to represent the oldest school of Hindu asceticism in Gorakhpur, which is in the Terai region of the Himalayas, and particularly its nucleus, that is the Gorakhnath Mutt, was reimagining the ways it could intervene in worldly politics. As argued by scholar Veronique Boulier, while even earlier the Nath yogis were both spiritual and temporal counselors to the kings, the 20th century ushered in a new configuration in which religious figures entered the political arena directly. The powerful and extremely political Mahant of the temple, Digvijayanath, was the first in the Sampradaya to formally take the plunge into electoral politics. He was a Rajput from Udaipur. In the book Ayodhya, A Dark Night, Krishna and Dhirendra Jha describe Digvijayanath as a tall, stocky, broad-shouldered, immensely dignified man with a quiet manner and gift for diplomacy. Digvijayanath joined the Hindu Mahasabha in 1939. Just 3 days before Gandhi's murder, the book says, he exhorted Hindu militants to kill the Mahatma. Contrary to popular understanding, the Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS always kept a distance from each other. Walter Anderson, one of the most formidable scholars on the RSS, tells us that the two did not even look eye to eye on several issues, and Golwalkar and Savarkar famously hated each other. And the Gorakhnath Mutt has traditionally been much closer to the Hindu Mahasabha and Savarkar, so that, Anderson says, is an obvious fault line. By all standards, the Hindu Mahasabha and its head in the United Provinces, Digvijay Nath, were considerably right of the RSS. A report published in the Statesman in 1950, for instance, quoted Digvijay Nath as saying, if his party attains power, it would deprive the Muslims of the right to vote for 5 to 10 years, the time it would take for them to convince the government that their interests and sentiments are pro-Indian. But there were several overlaps, and in the course of history, the Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS actively collaborated and borrowed issues from each other, the biggest being the movement for the Ram Temple in Ayodhya. Again, contrary to popular understanding, it was not the RSS or the VHP which kick-started the Ram Temple movement. It was actually Digvijay Nath who first began to rally support over the Babri Masjid Ram Temple issue in the 1940s, much before the RSS took up the cause or the Vishwa Hindu Parishad was even formed. As argued by political scientist Christoph Jaffrelot, the rapprochement between the two political strands, that is, the one of the Hindu Mahasabha and the RSS, happened largely because of the Ayodhya movement, started by Digvijay Nath and then taken up by the Sangh Parivar in the 1980s. But the two strands, Jaffrelot says, did not merge completely. Digvijay Nath's successor and Yogi Adityanath's guru, Mahant Avaidyanath, carried forward this legacy. He was a 5-time MLA and 2-time MP from Gorakhpur, variously as independent and Hindu Mahasabha candidate. However, in 1991, Avaidyanath fought and won the Lok Sabha election on a BJP ticket. By the 1990s, the equations had completely changed. The BJP had become the face of the Ram Temple movement. By this time, the Hindu Mahasabha had almost ceased to be a significant force at all. So Avaidyanath moved to the BJP towards the end of his political life, something that Adityanath would follow. As the story of the Nath Mahants of Gorakhpur since the early 20th century shows us, Gorakhpur has been a Hindutva stronghold for decades, quite independently of the Sangh Parivar. In fact, in many ways, it is the Sangh that has borrowed from the Gorakhpur strand of Hindutva, which Adityanath is an heir to. Now let's come to Adityanath's own journey. He was born and raised as Ajay Singh Bisht. He joined the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad, which is ABVP, the student wing of the RSS, while he was in college in Uttarakhand's Kotwar. According to his biographer Shantanu Gupta, it was during this time in the late 80s and the early 90s, when the Ram Janmabhoomi movement was at its peak, that Ajay began to get attracted to spirituality and politics. It was in Kotwar that he met his to-be guru Mahant Avaidyanath and began to work for him. Yogi Adityanath's biographer tells us that by this time, Avaidyanath was already the head of over 5 committees for the Ram Mandir set up by the VHP. And Ajay would go door to door creating awareness across different states about the temple for his to-be guru. These are crucial details because according to Shantanu Gupta, they show that Yogi was always intrinsically Sangh since he was formerly with the ABVP in college and he began his public life in a sense in close association and collaboration with the VHP. In 1994, Ajay followed his guru to Gorakhpur and took sannyas, thus becoming Yogi Adityanath. Since 1998, he became the MP of Gorakhpur on a BJP ticket. Therefore, all the chatter about Yogi being an outsider is ill-informed, according to Gupta. Even when he took sannyas, the person who presided over the ceremony was Ashok Singhal, the former head of the VHP. So there have been old ties between the Yogi and the RSS, his biographer says. However, through the years, there have been some obvious tensions between the Sangh Parivar and the parallel Hindutva of the Gorakhnath Mutt. First, RSS leaders who do see Yogi as an outsider point towards the Hindu Yuva Vahini and ask why Yogi needed his own army of men when there was already the VHP and the Bajrang Dal. To be sure, in 2022, the Hindu Yuva Vahini was formally dissolved, reportedly after repeated prodding by the RSS and the BJP, which were irked by the parallel army's clout in the state. Second, as Yogi Adityanath's own clout grew rapidly in Gorakhpur, he would often use pressure tactics with the BJP to get his own men to fight elections. In one of the most well-known of these cases, Adityanath revolted against the BJP and fielded Dr. Radha Mohan Agarwal on a Hindu Mahasabha ticket. Agarwal, who is now actually a BJP MP from the Rajya Sabha, defeated the BJP candidate by a significant margin. During the election campaign, Adityanath reportedly went on to characterize the BJP as a party speaking in two voices and appealed to all the people to oppose the BJP, even as he remained a BJP MP himself. As late as 2017, his exclusion from the state BJP election committee before the 2017 state elections had reportedly led to widespread protests in the state by the Hindu Yuva Vahini. These were only called off after he was deployed across the state by the party. But many people believe that the journey from Gorakhpur to Lucknow has changed Yogi Adityanath. After becoming the chief minister, it is widely believed that he has considerably changed his ways and made sincere attempts to strengthen his ties with the BJP and the RSS. The fact that he dissolved the Hindu Yuva Vahini was a huge gesture. It was an acknowledgement that he is formally part of the Sangh Parivar and will function as such, a BJP functionary told us. Gupta, his biographer, says that when he just got elected as the CM, he wouldn't even meet MLAs and MPs. But over the years, he has transformed himself. He has done everything to integrate himself into the organization. He holds weekly meetings with BJP workers, attends their weddings, funerals, you name it. Yet, opposite voices exist too. Many RSS BJP functionaries believe that Yogi has not done much to strengthen the organization through his years as chief minister. Under him, the system of patronage in UP has not been democratized, an RSS functionary from UP said. The MPs and MLAs under him are powerless, the functionary added. He further argued that Yogi's Hindutva is also outside the framework of the RSS. It is, he said, too personalized. He is not an organization person, he is a populist leader, so he goes by his own instinct and connection with people and less by organizational discipline or instructions. As argued by Bullier, from the anti-Romeo squads to the meat crackdowns and police encounters in UP, Adityanath has an impressive, enviable record as a Hindutva administrator. But it is always accompanied by massive press coverage. When it comes to Adityanath's politics, she argues, it is the politics of presence and the politics of permanent performance. For the RSS, which prefers deep institutional change to personality-driven, ostentatious politics, these can be red flags. There are also other suspicions and apprehensions. Perhaps the biggest being that Yogi has not been vetted by the institutional structure of the RSS. While reporting this story, several people told us that the RSS has immense respect for him, especially as the spiritual head of the Gorakhnath Mutt. But respect is not equal to institutional trust. Walter Anderson, for instance, argued the RSS and Yogi get along very well. But when it comes to the question of the top job, he says, I would suspect you would need someone from an RSS background. He has not grown up in the world of shakhas and camps. Those friendships, childhood relationships are very important to rise in the RSS, he says. Yet, several people in the RSS and BJP believe that if there are enough people, including the ground-level karyakartas of the RSS who favour Yogi as Modi's successor, then the Sangh will not dispute it. To dispel all the confusion, we might want to remember that there was no consensus within the Sangh over Modi's candidature as PM in 2013 or 14 either. But the Sangh and Modi both knew that the RSS karyakarta was with Modi. When the RSS did its own survey, we are told that's what it found and decided to throw its weight behind Modi. The next few years will tell us if the same could happen with Yogi, the so-called outsider within the Parivar. Thanks for watching. This is Anya Dhingra.